All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you are watching from. Um, hopefully you guys are enjoying, your weekend. And if you've been keeping track, there's so many things that have been happening over the course of the past few weeks. And, I feel thanks in large part to, the world that we're living in these days. It seems like we have a con that is, spraying its head or popping up every single week. But with that being said, I have a terrific guest that's on tap. So without further ado, let me bring them on. They've been on the show before, so they are, they don't need an introduction. They are an American comic book artist and writer, perhaps best known for their, groundbreaking contributions to Archie Comics. They've also left their stamp on DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Mattel, IDW, Valiant Comics, just to name a few. And they're also the co-creator of the hit series Die Kitty Die. It's my pleasure to welcome back Dan Parent. Let me bring him on. What's going on,
Hey,
Dan? How you doing?
good, good. How are you? How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm good. Good to see you again.
Good to see you
Um,
too.
so to start again, the purpose of this interview. I know you were meaning to connect at Awesome Con, and it's kind of ironic that now we're talking here at Rose City Comic Con with it being its sister show. So
Right.
before we hop into Rose City Comic Con, I know this being its last day. Can you give like a quick recap of how Awesome Con went this year? And being back with this live show.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good. Everybody is following protocols with masks and doing whatever the organizers are asking us to do. People are just really thrilled to be back in a convention setting. So it feels really good. It feels safe. I tell people, I feel pretty much safer at these conventions than I feel like at a Walmart. Because everybody at the conventions is masked and vaccinated for the most part, so it feels good. It feels good.
For sure, for sure. And and speaking to that, I mean, I know you've been, you're not a stranger to Awesome Con. You've been there many times.
Yeah.
And just commenting on just you've had a chance, probably even more so than me. Awesome Con was my first live show back, and I know you've
Mhm.
had a couple since then, even before Awesome
Right.
Con. And speaking of, prior years of years that you had, you know, uh, um, been a guest at Awesome Con, versus this year, can you? I know you gave a brief synopsis of that dynamic and like you said, the fact that you felt safe and all those things.
Mhm.
Uh, more so on the I guess on your end as an artist and working artist alley,
Mhm.
how did that dynamic work, or how did it feel, this year versus other years in interacting with, many fans and other folks that, you normally interact with?
It felt pretty remarkably similar. I think the show was probably a little smaller than usual just because, maybe it was like running at like 80, 70 or 80% of normal capacity, which is
Sure.
still pretty
Still pretty
impressive.
good. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's still a few people who are, aren't comfortable coming out, which we totally understand that.
Right.
But but no, I think I've noticed in all the shows I've done this summer, I've done better than expected, as at least money
That's
wise.
always good. Yeah.
People seem to be really anxious to get artwork and buy books, and um, so people are definitely are spending money.
All right, awesome, awesome, and it's always a fascinating topic, and speaking to anyone who is in Artist Alley, of what to bring, and with every single show, it's always interesting to get that response of okay, what are you going to bring to this show versus what you bring to another show, especially if you do your work encompasses a lot of different things and many different interests. So
Right.
with that in mind, can you speak to that and is seeing that there is kind of that synergy between Awesome Con and Rose City Comic Con.
Mhm.
Would you say in terms of like the fandom and the work that you decide to bring to your table to showcase is the same, or would you say it's different?
Well, there's one thing that makes a show makes all the difference when you're bringing stuff to a show is, are you driving to the show or are you flying to the show?
That's fair.
Because
Yeah.
Awesome Con, I drove from my house, so I'm not too far from there, so I can bring as much stuff as I want and just leave it in the car. I don't have to worry about weighing stuff. When I'm traveling to Oregon, obviously, you're limited to what you bring, without having, unless they want to send stuff out ahead of time, which I don't like to do. So basically, you're just you've got to economize your weight and your space when you're traveling with a couple suitcases. So you just sort of like bring the best of your stuff. Again, like when I'm going to AwesomeCon, I just throw it all in there. I don't have to really go through stuff and edit stuff. I just throw everything in. Here, I have to sort of like weigh my suitcases and make sure I bring the certain stuff. But it all works out fine. It actually is good to teach you to economize on your items that you're bringing. It teaches you, because you can always bring too much. So it works out fine. It works out fine. In the end, people are still responsive, and I do, and these shows are pretty commission heavy for me anyway. So that's the main gist of the shows, is that I do, I'm doing commissions for the most part, and that doesn't matter where I am.
For sure, for sure. And in speaking to speaking specifically to that, a lot of times, whether it's an artist alley, or a lot of times if you have an entire comic book store, make the rounds to a con, they'll have specifics, there that are, very unique to that show. And
Mhm.
do you know if there are, if you do have it available, can you speak to those specific things that perhaps you have specifically, just jumping off the last question, what you have specifically here at Rose City, to kind of make that experience unique for fans, like in terms of like exclusives perhaps, or covers, that type of thing.
I've done a few. I don't really do that many exclusives for the specific shows unless the shows ask me specifically. Like if a show
Okay.
wants a variant, I usually. Otherwise, I may do like a print or something based on a certain like place I'm going to be
Okay.
sometimes. Um, but I don't really the thing I focus on when I'm doing a show is I try and bring like highlight the latest project that I've worked on.
Okay.
Like the last thing I did this summer, we did an Everything's Archie like 80th anniversary issue, which is like a one shot. But that's sort of like the thing I kind of focus on, because it was like the most recent. And I'm also tomorrow I'm launching a Kickstarter, and I'm
Of course.
kind of promoting that at the show
10 years.
too. So yeah, it's kind of like I just have like whatever is like the current thing is what I highlight at that show.
Okay. All right. Cool. And to speak further to that, you were just commenting on the Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Can you, speak further to that? Because did see the promo that you have for that, and that's awesome that it's coming up. You have that anniversary going. So,
Uh-huh.
thinking back of the way it was, when you first created Keller to now,
Mhm.
and thinking of the longevity of that character.
Mhm.
Could you, speak to that, and how awesome it is to still see it continue to have a voice, and to speak to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that it's been well, like we're saying it's been a decade. It's actually been 11 years since Kevin's been around. I just say a decade because the omnibus is sort of collecting a decade's worth of material.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the character still resonates. We still sell a good amount of like the back issue trades and things like that. And I wanted to do an omnibus of every classic style Kevin Keller story we've done. And then in kind of looking at how much there was, I had no idea there was over like 700 pages of this material. I just, I forgot we did this much stuff. And then I know it's crazy. And some of the issues of Kevin, probably about 8 or 9 of them, have never been printed anywhere else except for those first issues. So to a lot of people, they've never even seen this material. And there's also some other like Kevin projects we did. We did a free comic book day story for Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. Did other Kevin projects that for other sources that have never been reprinted. So it just feels like a good time to put it all together. And Archie was very happy to let me do it. When I told him it was 700 pages, they was like, "Wow, okay, we weren't aware of that." But I was like, I said, I'm going to kickstart it if it's okay with you guys. and they're very supportive. So now I've got a month long of late nights and work ahead of me on top of my regular workload.
Cool, cool. And I feel like that's actually a great segue into. Oh, yay, my window's open, so hearing siren. But anyway, I feel like it's a great. I feel like it's a great segue into what I was talking about, or say the title that we had below in terms of like that work fan balance. Because even aside from trying to decide what work to bring, it's a given that obviously you wouldn't be in the occupation that you're in if you yourself weren't a fan of the work. And I know that you loved Archie even far beyond having an opportunity, the surreal opportunity to actually work on it.
Right.
So with that in mind, uh, speaking to working the show and being in front of a table for so many hours a day at a con, and still trying to find that balance for yourself of not to say that it's not fun to be able to interact with your fans, but also be able to do some things for yourself. um I'm always fascinated to find out like that balance and trying to figure out, okay, I know I'm going to be spending probably 2/3 of my time here at my table. When will I have some time just to step away and and do it during the day? I mean, obviously things happen in the evening where you're able to connect with contemporaries, but even outside of that.
Yeah. Well, I just make sure that you have to take care of yourself. Like when I'm home, I'm always like hiking and doing physical activity because I'm sitting down so much. So you definitely have to just kind of take care of yourself physically and mentally. Even at the shows, like it's funny is I'm on the West Coast, so I'm on East Coast time. So
Yeah,
I'm
I've been
still
there.
it's
Yeah,
still 3 hours later in my head. So
right,
when I'm doing the show at 8 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock at night for me, and people are going out to dinner and stuff, and I just go back to my room and crash usually because my body is just telling me to crash.
right.
And then I'm up at 4 in the morning here because it's 7 a.m. to me.
Mm,
It doesn't matter how much sleep I get, my body still knows the actual time I'm running on. My clock is on the East Coast, so I just adjust to that. Um, and the conventions again, they do pile up. I've got another one next weekend, and then I'm off for a couple weeks.
yeah,
So you don't kind of when you schedule shows ahead of time, you don't always know what your work schedule is going to be like at the time. Not to mention that with COVID and we signed on for shows, we weren't really sure like if we'd be doing them for sure or what or how we'd be doing them. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So I'm just rolling with it. Work can come with me. I work on the plane. I was working on a Betty and Veronica story on the plane. I was laying it out when I was flying out here. I'll work on it on them on the plane tomorrow going back. So work gets done. It's everything's mobile now. Yeah, yeah.
cool. And then I guess lastly, before talking about what's coming up next, another thing that is also fascinating. I know you were talking about at the top of commissions and those commitments of commissions that you have, and you know everyone in terms of their working style is completely different. For some, they prefer to try to get as many of those commissions done like over the course of that time that they are at that particular show. And for others, they try to, just as you said, they'll try to continue it once they return home, and then wrap it up on that end.
Mhm.
Where would you say you fall? Is it kind of like a balance of that, or do you try to say, okay, I'm gonna try to get as much of this done so I don't bring a bunch of it back with me once I get home?
I try and get most of them done at the show,
Yeah,
and then sometimes I may have a couple more to bring home, like to the hotel room at night. Um, but it's nice to not have to do that. It just depends how busy you
right.
are. Like I think for me, I have got two commissions that are left from this weekend, and they're drawn, and I will just color them when I get back to the show. And if people want commissions today, I'll do a few. And if it starts to get like pile up, then at this point I'll just mail them out to people.
Yeah,
After the show. Um, but yeah, and then some shows are very commission heavy. This one's been pretty heavy on commissions. Some shows are very light on commissions, and people just buy existing art and books. So you just don't know. It's hard to tell. New York Comic Con is always very commission heavy. Heroes in Baltimore are always very commission heavy, and some shows are just you don't know what it's going to be. But I saw a lot of prints too. That's always a good thing to sell because they're already there. You don't have to like do
Sure.
anything. So. But it's just I just like whatever the fans want because they're the ones that come out and they're paying money to go to the cons, and because of the fans doing the shows, obviously it enables artists like myself to be able to travel and do this kind of stuff. So it's all good. It's all good. It's no complaints.
All right, awesome stuff, man. Well, I know you were commenting on the Kickstarter that is kicking off tomorrow. I understand.
Tomorrow, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try and kick it off. I mean, if everything goes as planned and my computer's streaming fine and there's no internet issues here, sometimes I'm not home. I won't be home until like late Monday night or Tuesday. I'm gonna probably 6 a.m. I'm here out in the west, so probably 9 a.m. East Coast ish.
Okay.
It'll come on, and some people will get notified because if you can go to the site already, and you can choose to be notified when it goes live. You'll get an email. So
All right.
yeah,
Cool.
and then we will, and then I'll be, just sort of people will be contacting me and asking me questions because there are commissions and perks you get with the Kickstarter. So I'll be answering questions, and yeah, it's all good.
Nice. All right, sweet. Well, I mean, other than this show, can you speak to already, what you have next? As you were saying, like I know just by virtue of the environment now, like everything, because everything was backlogged, we now have, instead of things being spread out, it seems like we have something every single week.
There's
So, uh,
a
is it
lot
going to
going
be
on this
that way
fall.
for a while? It's pretty solid, like going on every single week. I'm assuming at this point, up until the
Uh,
end of the year.
Well, I mean, I've got like I know like like C2E2 and Emerald City where shows were moved to December. Those are
Right.
always spring shows.
Yep.
So I'll be in Dallas next week, Fan Expo Dallas. Then I'm off for a couple of weeks, and then you got New York Comic Con coming up,
Right.
and then
Be there.
Toronto will be in 2 weeks after that. So it'll be my first trip over the border or leave, so that'll be a new thing.
Cool.
So I've got to have my vaccination ID and get a COVID test to, just to cross the border, and looking forward to it.
All right.
Looking
Awesome.
forward
Well,
to it.
Dan, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for squeezing in some time this
Well,
morning before the
thanks for
last
having
day
me.
of yeah, of course, last day of Rose City. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm in Artist Alley. I'm at table D11. I'm next to Jeff Parker, who I worked with on the Archie meets Batman 66. So we're sitting together, which is cool because you can come and get your Archie Batman 66 books signed by both of us. And yeah, you can find me there.
All right, cool. Well, there you guys have it. Again, I want to thank Dan Parent for coming on this morning. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for watching this morning. Be safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks.